and etc. If you're interested, you can contact the phone number 612-249-8736, which will also be shown at the end of the presentation. This is a reminder for all in person and on Zoom that if all of your contributors have a social security number, this workshop might not be as helpful for you. Skip this, right? Okay. So the FAFSA form, I can move it from here. Okay. So the FAFSA form, which is also an acronym for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, we'll be going over this again. A reminder to online participants to access simultaneous interpretation function for Spanish. And if people have questions, they can put them in the chat and someone from the COPAD team will answer. I would like to remind everyone that this is only for students with a social security number, and for non-social security number students, they should fill out the DREAM Act. There is still time. The deadline for that is June 30th. Okay, so there have been a lot of barriers this year due to the FAFSA simplification. And if you're here, you can give yourself a pat on the back because this year has been one of the hardest in history. So finishing this out will be a huge achievement. A few of these barriers include that contributor cannot create a StudentAid.gov account, which is also the FSA ID. The identity verification process is difficult to complete. This being FAFSA does not pick up the phone calls or the emails are not being read. The upcoming financial aid deadline is approaching and the FAFSA is yet to be filled out. Getting support and assistance, as stated before, it has been harder, and the information keeps changing quickly. And the identity documents are rejected for various reasons that we'll go over soon. And colleges are unable to provide accurate information or accommodate missed deadlines. And this is crucial because many private scholarships need the FAFSA to be completed. So a quick timeline of the FAFSA is at the beginning of December 31st. The FAFSA opened late. There were many technical issues with the form. Between December to February, some contributors didn't have a MANVER number, so this made it harder for them to get their verification. When the FSA was verified, they were unable to complete their section on the FAFSA. In March, students with non-social security number contributors were given time-consuming workarounds, and the workarounds did not work for spouse of non-social security number contributors. April 9th of this year, the last fix was done according to FAFSA, and now the final deadline to complete the FAFSA is June 11th. So we will start off by discussing the student section, but this doesn't mean that students should fill out the form first, as in many cases, we've seen that families who have the parent complete the FAFSA first have more success, and then after inviting the student to contribute to the open form. So logging in, this is the student view as well. You can navigate to the FAFSA.gov website, and then you'll click on the new form for the 2023 to 25 school year. And then, 24, not 23. And then you'll log into your account if it's if you've had an account already. If not, then click create an account. You have to note that this account will be for life, so make sure to choose an email that won't expire. That being said, not from a job, a school, or anything tied to an organization, because you use primarily a personal email, as you'll have to access this form various times. Make sure to save your password and email exactly how you typed it. And once you're logged in successfully, you can choose student as your role. Okay. So for the student section, there are 5 distinct sections. So we'll go over the personal circumstances for this one. In here, if it's your first time, you'll have to fill out the student identity info. And if you're a returning user, you'll verify that everything is correct and up to date. A workaround here is that sometimes the street address section or the last name section will prevent you from advancing. So try and limit it to 12 characters once making it. So here are a list of factors that may identify the student as either a dependent or independent student. However, based on the student's responses of FAFSA's questions, it will determine the dependency status of the student, whether the student thinks otherwise. So the definition of being a dependent person is not like on taxes, it's a separate definition. So it's very unlikely that you will qualify as an independent student, but there are a few exceptions that we'll go over. So these exceptions include if you can answer yes to any one of these questions, being, is the student married, pursuing a master's doctorate degree, active duty or military veteran, with dependents who receive more than half of their support between July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. If at any time since the student turned 13 were both parents deceased, were they in foster care or dependent ward of the court, as determined by a court in the student's state of legal residence is the student, or were they an emancipated minor, if they're under legal guardianship, or if they're homeless and unaccompanied. So the student will be prompted to invite their parent to fill out their section of the FAFSA application. You have to keep in mind that people who are listed on this slide are not your parents, so do not invite them unless they have legally adopted you. Okay. So continue with the first section of the student part of the form. You will need to continue to fill out your school year, if this is your first bachelor's degree or what type of higher education you're pursuing. And then after you'll check any of the check boxes that will make you an independent student, and if parents are willing to provide their information. Okay. So for this question, this was one of the tricky questions that a lot of people got stumbled up on. The question reading, are the student's parents unwilling to provide their information, but the student doesn't have an unusual circumstance that prevents them from contacting or obtaining their parents' information? To answer this question, you'll click yes if the parent is unwilling to provide their tax information for you, so they won't give it to you for whatever reason. Click no if the parent is willing to provide their tax information. Something important to keep in mind is that FAFSA will find you to be a dependent student. If FAFSA finds you to be a dependent student and you select yes to the answer to this question, then FAFSA will automatically end your application and you won't be eligible for federal aid. So for section 2, the student demographics, this will look similar how the parent will invite the student. And on this first section, you will need to enter the information exactly how they put it when they made their account. And if you have problems with this, please use the workarounds that will be later listed in the presentation. And it'll be helpful to make sure your parents can log into the email before trying to complete the FAFSA. And then you'll continue on to fill out the student demographic information. So for section 3, this is the student's financials. So it's only asking of the student's 2022 tax return. If you did not work in 2022, then you can just leave the whole section with zeros. And then for the section 4 of the colleges, you'll add your school or the schools you're applying to. We recommend that you put multiple schools to see if you get a better aid at one school than another. To do this, you could have two options, either searching by school name or searching by school code. We recommend the school code is most accurate, and you can usually find that when you Google the school and then FAFSA code. You can also look up the school name. However, if you do this, click on the full name, make sure that there are no acronyms. So for the section 5 signature, student signature, you will see a banner once you sign that says the student section is complete. You might also see a green check by your name. Then you would see the status of your parents' forms. If they finish their part, then you will see a green check under status. And then now now this is the student section has been completed and we'll proceed on to the parent section, which Vivi will cover.
Okay. So the parent section is a lot shorter than the student section. It's going to ask about demographics, financials, and then at the end, you are going to need a signature. However, this happens after the parent without a social security number has already verified their identity with FAFSA. And that's the part that most people are getting stuck on. So remember that you can fill out the FAFSA in different orders. Right now, the order we're doing it is student first, then parent, but some people have had more success with doing it parent first and then the student. And so if you're getting stuck, I recommend before signing the student section, trying to delete that and then have your parent invite you. So who needs a student aid account? This used to be called the FSA ID or the FSA ID. So if you hear me say student aid account, that's what I'm talking about. They're the same thing. I don't know why they changed the names. And so if your parents are married, only one needs to fill out the FAFSA. But if one of your parents is unmarried, but they're living together, two of them are going to need to fill out the FAFSA. Each one will need an account. And if your parents are divorced, only one that pays for that supports you more financially in the last 12 months will do it. And then if the parent remarried, even if they didn't file their taxes together, that new step parent is also going to need to make an account. Okay, so now, as stated in the previous slide, the parent should access their email to which an invitation link was sent, where they will search for an email from FAFSA or from FSA, and it will contain like this image that's on the slide here. And the page will have a link that they will open, and it'll automatically redirect them to their child's FAFSA form. They'll need to log in, but it'll direct them straight to the form once logging in. We highly recommend, please do not erase this email because it's the only way to start to access your child's account. And so keep this email, store it, forward it to the student's email because you will definitely need this link. And just another heads up, this link will expire after 45 days of inactivity. So we highly recommend trying to get everything figured out or at least started and saved before that 40-day expiration date. Se congeló. Ahí está. Okay. So before entering into the form, parents without a social security number are going to need to, in some way, verify their identity. There are two ways to verify your identity when creating your FSA account. One is very unlikely that you'll have to do, but it is answering multiple choice questions. And this is for people who have filled out their FAFSA before this year. They already have an account and it's selected at random. So it's very unlikely that this will be your mode of verification, but it could happen. We urge you to try really hard to put everything perfectly typed if you do the multiple choice question verification, because if you just type one thing wrong, it'll reject your parent's identity and it'll make you do the second way that most people have to do anyways. The second way is by having to submit documents to get your manual verification number or case number, or if you started the FAFSA after the 5th of March, which is really confusing, but that was like when a huge update happened. Your parent will automatically receive their manual verification number or their case number, it's the same thing, in their email. And so let me just say that again because it's really confusing. If you tried to do your FAFSA before March 5th and you started this whole process, you've probably been trying to call FAFSA, text FAFSA with a chatbot, even email them. And it's probably been really hard to get through. And you're doing that to get your manual verification number. And you're going to have to keep doing that, unfortunately. But because they made this new update, the lines are getting a lot shorter. So we really urge you to keep trying because you should be able to get in contact with them a lot easier now. And if you're starting the FAFSA after the 5th of March, check your parents' email to get the manual verification number. And that, I will go to the next slide to show you what that will look like. That will look like this email. And so whether you started before March 5th or after, you are going to have to send in documents to prove your parents' identity to the FSA.gov email. A common mistake is that people will accidentally send in a blurry image and it'll get rejected and then they have to go through this whole thing again. Another common mistake is they don't send it in PDF, they send it in a type of file that can't be opened. So we really highly recommend making sure your PDF looks clear before sending it to them. And then yep. And then I just want to note one more time, the alternative for if you're in that group of people that started before March 5th, we found that people get in contact with the FSA office quickest Monday mornings, and the office in Central Time, where we are at, opens at 7 a.m. So we found that for whatever reason, when people call on Monday at 7 a.m., it's a lot easier to get through to someone versus a Friday at 4. I don't know why that is, but it's easier. Also, they're closed on federal holidays, so please don't waste your holiday time trying to fill out the FAFSA. Okay, so going back to that email where you have to send the documents, this could be a driver's license, a passport, a community ID, a consular ID, something that proves your parents' identification. And then you're also going to need them to sign an attestation form. If you need help finding that form, please put that in the chat or contact us after. We can print that form for you if you need it, or email that form to you if you need it. It just needs a signature and it needs to be included on the same email that you send the documents. And it's on the screen, but the email you're going to send that to is idverification@ed.gov. And we're also filming this, so if you need to come back to this part, you will be able to. Okay, so now we've verified, in theory, the parent's identity. We've sent the documents. If you created the FAFSA after March 5th, your parent will be able to log in right away. If you created it before March 5th, you're going to have to keep waiting until they give you your case number, and then they should be able to get in. After being redirected from that email, you should see a similar page to this on the screen, where they will enter their StudentAid.gov username and password, or if they've done this before, their FSA ID, it's the same thing. If it's their first time ever doing this, go ahead and go through the create account section, and they're going to need to press accept invitation and then continue, just as it's shown here on the screen. And then if they've forgotten their username, they may have to use either their email or their phone number that the student put when doing the invitation. A lot of people get confused, or they might have multiple emails. So just double check with your child what they put on your FAFSA, because that's the only way you're going to be able to recover your account. And because these accounts are for life, unfortunately, you are going to have to keep trying to get your username and password in order to fill out the FAFSA. Okay, so now we're on the form. We're starting the demographics section, the first of 3 sections. And it's going to ask, similar to the student, the parent's name, last name, email, phone number, and address. And then continuing on to section 2, just a heads up, you will need your parents' taxes from the year 2022. So if your parents haven't done taxes from 2022, they will need those before we're doing anything with the FAFSA. There's no lee room there, unfortunately. You have to have taxes done. And so this question with family size, people have been tripping up on. Make sure to include yourself when including the family. So if I'm a mom, a dad, and I have 1 child, don't put 2 people, put 3 people. Okay. And then continuing on with financials, keep filling out your tax information accordingly. All of this information should be on your tax return. Then if your parents are married and they did their taxes together, you are likely going to be prompted to add your other parent's information to this form. Similarly, it's only going to ask you general information, first name, last name, date of birth. If they have a social security number, they should put that. If they don't, they would do the same as the first parent and put their address. And this section, this part, trips a lot of people up. And we have a whole slide dedicated to how to get past this step coming up here. And so it'll just make more sense if we wait till the end, but there's a lot of different ways to get through this screen if you're getting stuck. Okay, the final section for the parents part of the FAFSA is just to sign and review. It's pretty obvious, but we really highly urge that you write down exactly how you put the email, exactly how you put their name, exactly the social security number. Hopefully you put it the same. All of those things, because if for some reason you need to use one of these workarounds, or for some reason you need to go back in the form, you're going to need to put everything exactly how it was. And then when you make sure that everything looks good and it's all in order, you will sign the form. And then you will complete the section, which will take you to this final page. And so it should say, congratulations, the FAFSA form is completed, and it'll give you a submission date. And then the student should receive an email that says that their parent was able to complete the FAFSA. Sometimes when you navigate away from this window, it'll, I don't have the picture up, but there'll be a green check mark next to the parent's name. And if the student did it, they will also have a green check mark next to their name. It should be really obvious that you're able to complete the FAFSA. And so this is just not very important for us right now, but just as a rule of thumb, whatever year of FAFSA you're filling out, you have to go 2 years back with taxes. So this year, we're going to be using taxes from 2022. And so this is probably the section that you've all come for help, the workaround section. A lot of people, if you look at the screen with the parent, spouse, or partner information page, to either make an FSA account or then to add a parent in the financial sections of the parent section. It requires putting the parent's identity. And so, if this person doesn't have a social security number and you're having trouble getting through, we recommend before doing anything, trying to log out, clear your history, clear any of your cookies, clean any of the caches, and then in a new window, logging in and trying again. It's super annoying. You shouldn't have to do this, but it's been working for some people. And then if that doesn't work, another thing that we recommend is that you shorten your parent's last name to 12 characters or less. So if the parent's last name is Rodriguez Sanchez, Rodriguez is going to fit, but that last part you might have to cut off half of Sanchez or just don't put Sanchez at all. And then make sure you write that down exactly how you put it. Okay, and then another workaround could be, instead of putting your street address, just putting a period in that line. And you're still gonna have to put your city, your state, and your zip code. But usually when you put a period, it will let you continue through this window. Sometimes people's city where they live is also more than 12 characters. So again, you might just have to shorten your city name as well, and then write that down exactly how you put it. And that should let you keep going. And the good news is it's really easy to update this after submitting your FAFSA. And so just make sure you're writing everything down, and that should let you get to the next window. If none of these workarounds work, I would recommend checking, if you already have an FSA.gov or StudentAid.gov, checking exactly how you put it the year before, going and looking at a previous year's FAFSA and see what your parents put down. And if all of that still doesn't work, unfortunately, you're going to have to try to contact FAFSA. So those are the main workarounds for this section. If your parent does have a social security number, this would be if one of your parents doesn't, but the other one does. We've also seen it work where if you change the very last digit of their parent's social security number, it will let you continue, but then you're going to have to go back into the FAFSA and make a correction. But why would you put it wrong if you're going to have to go put it back? The answer is you want to submit the FAFSA on time. So this is where we're like up against a time limit here. You have to submit the FAFSA before June 11th. And so that is why you just have to try to get through these like loopholes for now, just to be able to submit it. Again, we kind of mentioned this before, but non-social security number parents, we recommend that non-social security number parents start the application before the student, so they'd be the one inviting the student. I don't know why this works better. It just seems to work better for a lot of people. And then another workaround is that if the non-social security number parent makes the application, we recommend that they don't put their phone number at all. You can always add it later. I don't know why, that sometimes helps as well. Okay. And another reason why you will need to do corrections is because the information that your parent provides to the identity verification to FAFSA is going to have to match what you put on the form. So in order to get your aid on time, we really recommend that you go through and do corrections. Okay. A couple of other tips that we just want to mention. Don't report your family home as an investment property. You used to have to do that in previous FAFSAs. I think they decided that it was stupid too, so don't do that. Another thing that people have been messing up on is child support is now considered an asset. So if you're receiving child support, you should report it as an asset. And so there's one final option for if you're in that group of people who started their FAFSA before March 5th and they're still stuck, they can't get through to FAFSA, time is running out. There is one like final option. It's like plan C. Like you want to try everything else before doing this, but it's called the incomplete FAFSA option. And it's used to be able to get a submission date before the FAFSA deadline to make sure that you're going to be able to get aid, because if you finish the FAFSA after June 11th, you won't be able to get aid for that school year. So when do I resort to this incomplete FAFSA option? If your college deadline is approaching very quickly, I'm pretty sure every college in Minnesota has moved their FAFSA deadline to be the same as the FAFSA deadline, which is June 11th. But just in case I missed one of the schools in Minnesota, it might be good to check your school deadline. I know off the top of my head, St. Olaf moved theirs, Veronica. And then if you have a non-social security number spouse contributor, so this would, if it's not your parents, if it's your spouse and you are still having problems, this would be a good option for you. And then if you are applying to out-of-state colleges and they have different deadlines, this would be a third option or a third reason that you might want to do this incomplete FAFSA option. So how do we do this incomplete FAFSA option? You're going to go into FAFSA, complete your student section and sign it. And then on the submission screen at the bottom, there's this button. It's in a red box. You can see it says provide information manually. And so you're going to choose that button and start to put your parents' financial information manually, and it'll let you submit it. And so what does this do? This creates an incomplete FAFSA, but it gives you a submission date. So you're going to be able to get your aid because you turned it in on time. It's just really sucky because you're going to have to go back in and make corrections and basically re-do the entire FAFSA, and it's going to further delay your final financial aid package. So you will get aid, but it's going to come in really late. Versus if you aren't able to finish the FAFSA before June 11th, you won't be eligible for aid at all. So that is why we recommend this option for if you have exhausted everything else and you want to make sure that you're eligible for aid. I'm just going to pause on this screen for manual entry steps. In case you need more support, it's a PDF and it goes into a lot of detail on how to do manual entry. Again, we recommend trying to touch base with me or some other financial aid professional before doing this to just like, let's triple check that there's a different way to try to make sure you get your aid on time. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention that it might be helpful to skip on the PDF all the way down to step 5 if you do end up needing to use this option. Okay, just really quick, when I say federal aid, what do I mean? There's aid at the federal level, there's aid at the state level, and even your school might have types of aid as well. And when you apply to FAFSA, you're applying to all of those levels. Some people get confused. If you are a student that needs to fill out the DREAM Act, that means that you're still applying to state aid, you're still applying to the school's scholarships, but you're not submitting your information to the federal government. So that's why the DREAM Act is for undocumented folks. If you have a social security number, fill out FAFSA, and that's how you can get your federal aid. And these are just some of the federal aid types that are most common and you're really likely to receive as part of your financial aid package. I'd say by far the most common are the Pell Grant and work study, because those are the two need-based types of grants that you can get. And the other ones have a little bit more to do with the industry you're studying or some other like really random things. Okay, so what are the benefits? Kind of as I said, financial support at the federal level, financial support at the state level. I just want to take time to mention that last year in the legislative session, they were able to pass a bill that gives eligible students all of their tuition paid, and that's starting fall of 2024. So this coming fall school year, if you studied in Minnesota at a Minnesota high school, and if your parents make less than $80,000 according to their 2022 taxes, that means if you go to a public school in Minnesota, school will be free for you. You might still have to pay for rent or for books, but the tuition part will be free. So that's one of the reasons that we really want to make sure everyone fills out their FAFSA this year. And there's also been a lot of confusion about it's called the North Star Promise Scholarship, which is the one that would give you free tuition. You don't have to apply for that separately. It's not like other scholarships. It'll be automatic. And that's why you have to fill out FAFSA. So if you fill out the DREAM Act or you fill out FAFSA, it'll automatically show up if you're eligible on your account. Okay, so let's say you were watching the recording of this, or you were here and you thought you had it and then you did not figure it out and you still need help. If it's like a smaller thing, like you have a question about what like a certain definition is when they're asking for your parents' retirement, what does that mean? It would be really helpful for you to talk with this chatbot. It speaks Spanish too, and so they're able to answer like general FAFSA information. But when it gets into, okay, I'm stuck and I need help with workarounds and I'm confused and nothing's working, then I recommend that you communicate with me. You can do that by calling our general line. They speak English and Spanish, or you can just shoot me an email. And we can set up a one-on-one appointment and make sure that you get your FAFSA in. Yeah, and then I think now, let's see, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. It's 6:13, so we have like 45 minutes to go through questions. I don't know if anyone has questions right away. ¿Ya no está funcionando? ¿No? A ver. ¿Los en el Zoom ahora pueden escuchar a Reina o ya no? Ok. ¿Ahora sí? No. No. Ok.
Ok, ¿me pueden escuchar ahora?
Have you typed it in the chat?
Camino de paso.
Sí, lo voy a poner en el chat.
Camino de paso donde está ayudando mucha gente.
Chat. Ah, aquí está.
Donde los vehículos se tienen que detener, ya sea una señalización, un semáforo, 30, 30, 20, 20, 10, 50. ¿Sí? Ahora, la carretera en cierre.